This is Adriano at his peak, a force of nature, one of the most feared strikers the world had ever seen. And this is Adriano just a few years later. The same raw talent, but a starkly different trajectory. If you are truly committed to forging a career in football, it's time for an honest confrontation with the subtle saboteurs that derail even the most promising players. The insidious habits that quietly erode progress, chipping away at your potential. This isn't hyperbole. Observe any world-class athlete, and you'll find an absence of these detrimental patterns. Not because a coach dictated it or external pressure forced a change. At a critical juncture, players who ascend to the highest echelons grasp a fundamental truth. The seemingly catastrophic event. The decline is far more subtle. More often than not, what ultimately shatters a player's aspirations is a cumulative effect of tiny, repeated habits that, in the moment, appear utterly harmless. Let's dissect the first and perhaps most pervasive trap, the ego of the warrior. There's a pervasive, misguided belief that playing through pain signifies ultimate dedication. You dismiss injuries, push beyond rational limits, or forgo essential rest, fearing you'll appear weak. Early on, this might even deliver a fleeting sense of accomplishment, a validation of your perceived toughness. But this mindset is a direct pathway to disaster. Look at the elite. They regard recovery as non-negotiable. They rest strategically, engage in the often tedious work of rehabilitation, and address minor issues before they escalate into career-threatening injuries. Consider Cristiano Ronaldo. His legend isn't solely built on training intensity. It's equally defined by his obsessive commitment to bodily maintenance. For these serious players, recovery is not merely important. It is as critical as practice itself. This is how they sustain their presence on the pitch, ensuring their physical instrument can withstand the relentless grind, rather than succumbing to bravado that leads to breakdown. Next, the silent assassin, Substandard Sleep. It seems self-evident, yet countless aspiring players sacrifice precious hours, tethered to screens, endlessly scrolling social media, or lost in virtual worlds. They rationalize, thinking, "I'll catch up later," but sleep is not a shortcut you can afford. This is the sacred period when your muscles undergo repair, your brain consolidates learned skills, and your entire being resets, physically and mentally. Deprive yourself of adequate sleep, and the consequences manifest everywhere. Training becomes a struggle, reactions dull, energy plummets, and focus becomes a fleeting concept. Elite performers do not relegate sleep to an afterthought. It is the cornerstone of their preparation. Now, let's address nutrition. Some players only begin to consider their dietary choices in the immediate lead-up to a match, as if a single healthy meal can miraculously supercharge their physiology. Your performance is not dictated by what you consumed this morning. It is a direct reflection of what you consistently fuel your body with day after day. If your meals are erratic, so too will be your energy levels and your recovery capacity. Elite players approach their food choices with unwavering seriousness, having learned, often through arduous experience, that every morsel you ingest is transmuted into fuel, strength, and laser-sharp focus on the field. To perform at your absolute peak, you cannot afford to neglect your nutrition. The fourth habit, a pervasive complacency, training without intent. This is an all too common sight. Players arrive, casually navigate a few drills, and depart with a false sense of accomplishment. But if intensity is absent, if you merely jog through exercises or engage in idle chatter, you are not training in a manner that translates to match performance. Real matches are a maelstrom of speed, instantaneous decisions, and relentless pressure. Your training environment must mirror that pace and stress. Otherwise, your body remains in a comfort zone, never adapting, never evolving. Observe athletes like Kevin De Bruyne. When they train, they are already in game mode. This is how you forge habits that truly activate when the whistle demands it. Next, the insidious poison of negative self-talk. Every single footballer, without exception, makes mistakes. A misplaced pass, a squandered shot, a lost ball. It is an inherent part of the game, especially when you dare to take risks and push your boundaries. The defining factor lies in your immediate response. Some players allow a solitary error to cast a long shadow over their entire performance. They become ensnared in frustration, confidence drains away, and suddenly, they are hesitant to even touch the ball. The truly great players, they reset and they reset fast. Lionel Messi might lose possession multiple times in a game, but his focus is with lightning speed. Then there's the comparison trap, amplified exponentially by the digital age. You scroll through curated highlight reels of other players, their trophies, their meticulously edited training sessions, their filtered successes. Suddenly, you feel inadequate, perpetually behind, convinced you'll never measure up because you are witnessing only their zenith, never their struggles. But progress is never linear. You might be in the nascent chapters of your journey, yet you are unfairly comparing yourself to someone else's chapter 20. It's their own incremental progress, not the fabricated highlight reels of the internet. Finally, and perhaps the most critically overlooked, neglecting self-analysis. Far too many players conclude a match, return home, and never revisit their performance. They simply move on. But if genuine improvement is your objective, you must become your own most diligent student. Review your matches. Identify moments where you were out of position or where you missed a pass you believed was on. Often, you will uncover issues you were entirely oblivious to in the heat of the moment. The best professionals are their own harshest critics, not to self-flagellate, but because understanding precisely what needs rectification is the absolute starting point for growth. The bottom line is this: there is no magic exercise, no singular session that will instantly transform you. Long-term, sustainable progress is forged in the crucible of the habits you consciously shed and the superior habits you meticulously build in their place. Begin by confronting the single worst habit currently impeding your progress, and systematically work from there. Incrementally, step by painstaking step, that is how players gain an insurmountable advantage and sustain their ascent. That is how true footballing excellence is achieved.